Detroit. I mean, 15 million sold last I checked.
I wouldn't be sitting here smiling, man, so much if it wasn't for Detroit Become Human. I do think I've been smiling a lot more in the last 7 years.
You have to agree, man. The story is there for an incredible sequel. Like the appetite is there.
Oh man, call me up. I'll tell you what, man, it was a lot of fun, and I have really enjoyed my time as Connor in any capacity. My idea was that, a player who made every single deviant choice, every time that Connor could do something empathetic or more human, he did do it. That would get me to a most deviant Connor, a most human Connor. And then a player who maybe only made one or two of those choices would have a mostly machine Connor. And so I broke those down by color in the script. Connor's color is blue. I see, actually, your color seems to be blue as well.
Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, I love blue. I mean, look at us.
I was the first in the world to platinum Detroit.
Were you really?
Much. Yes.
Mission successful, dude. Very cool. Hello, Dan. My name is Connor. I'm the android sent by Cyberlife. And by Dan from the past to tell you that you're doing a great job, Dan.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bryan is here. How are you, brother? Thanks for taking the time.
I'm doing well, Dan. Thanks for being here and for setting this up.
I feel like, man, you spearheaded actors playing games on Twitch. I feel like before you, there was no one doing this. I mean, what made you?
I'm glad you said it, man.
You feel like that? Because I feel like no one else was doing it before you. I could be wrong.
I mean, I think that, yeah, I would say that 7 years ago, when Detroit Become Human first came out and I did our initial like blind playthrough of the game, I do think that was a pretty much a big shift. I think there were other actors. I think there were voice actors who were streaming on Twitch, but I think it might have been the first time that like someone who was the lead, like, their character with the face in the game was also streaming the game. And Amelia and I were streaming the game together and we were both in it. And a month later we got married. So there was this whole kind of perfect storm of like the game released around when we were having this big life change and we started streaming together. And but yeah, I am really, really happy to see a lot of other actors are streaming on Twitch and YouTube and stuff now, because that was maybe the major, I guess, motivation behind streaming, was that I wanted people to get to see like behind the scenes, and that performance capture is very different than being in the vocal booth. So I wanted to talk about the experience of making it, because a lot of times, things will be credited like voice actor in game.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more that goes into it than getting to just do the, there's obviously vocal stuff in the booth, but getting people to kind of see that behind the scenes view that we really only got to see for like Andy Serkis's Gollum, for instance, which as an actor was such a cool thing to like, I want to do that, So the idea was to try to get to share that with as many people as possible. And now, yeah, I would say that if you're an actor in a video game and you're not streaming it when it comes out, what are you doing?
I know. Do you still get many people calling you a voice actor, or do you think that's changed a little bit?
Yeah, I think people quickly kind of say VA, is just like the way to do it. But I mean, I think actor is a term that is just useful, because the medium is constantly changing, and the technology we used on Detroit Become Human, like, yeah, that was based on the way they did it for previous games, but it's always iterating, So if maybe in 2018 I was like, no, I'm not a voice actor, I'm a performance capture actor. Well, then even how we do performance capture has changed so much in 7 years, that I think just like actor is good. Yeah.
I feel like there's people calling a voice actor when it comes to games, and I think hopefully we're shifting. I noticed with God of War, the new game you're in, Sons of Sparta, I'm noticing a lot of games are revealing the cast now, like as a marketing ploy, which I love. I wish games would keep doing it, man. It's great because it helps.
Well, and you see how successful it is, right? I mean, there's this. I do believe that video games coming into their kind of heyday with performance and stuff after the studio system and a lot of big budget. You pay the reference I make is like, you pay Harrison Ford 95% of the budget for 6 days, 7 nights, and then the movie comes out and people are like, why did we do that? I do think that video game companies in total kind of seeing that go down, we're like, oh, well, no, let's make the character the star and like just then we can swap out who plays the character if we need to, right? But in general, a big part of wanting to stream on Twitch was so that people would see who was involved in the production and how involved the actors are, because in the story of so many games, that's a major part of why you're playing it. I mean, we've evolved past like, you know, this is simply a satisfying game mechanic. If you can have a very satisfying game mechanic, but if I don't care why this
Mm.
is happening, we just have evolved as gamers, I think, to require performances in a lot of games, not all games, but a lot of games.
Especially you played Dispatch. That had a great cast.
Right
Um,
before the stream, I was like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't be wearing my Dispatch sweater," but I got my Dispatch sweater right here. I love Dispatch.
yeah, man, and
Yeah, an amazing cast, and you
they
see it
made.
succeed, right? I mean,
Mm.
people when people get behind, they're excited about the actors. I think it's just going to be, Kojima does it, Santa Monica Studio does it, Insomniac does it, Quantic Dream obviously does it. Like all these developer ad hoc with Dispatch. So like when games are doing this and having a huge success with it, I think the other games will follow. Marathon right now is like just now in its testing, and like the cast on that game is insane. So yeah, that was a big part of our move from being, actors and streamers into game developers with Evolutis Duality, was that when we were talking to the developers about making the game, we were like, this is cool, but having us on board is awesome, but if you were to fill in all these other characters with a really great cast, you could have something like really, really special here for a first time indie, game from these developers, Life Studios. And they were on board with it and said, go for it, shoot for the stars. And we've reached out to some amazing people, and
Dude, Dave
they
Fennoy
all
was a great choice too, man. That's
Oh yeah, I was
yeah.
amazed that they said yes. These people coming into our studio space, and I got Sissy Jones in the booth, and I'm like, what am
Oh,
I
Sissy,
doing directing
yeah.
Sissy Jones?
Man.
Like,
So you got the Walking Dead Elite. You're in it,
yeah,
obviously, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Amelia and I are both characters in it.
Roger
We
Clark.
Roger Clark, who plays Arthur
Yeah.
Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, Daisuke Tsuji, who plays
Oh,
Jin Sakai,
wow.
Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima, and Erika Ishii, who's Atsu in the Ghost of Yote. So we got both
Damn,
ghosts in the
man.
game. A whole bunch of the ghost cast is in there. I could ramble on and on, but people can check it out on Steam. Put it on your wish list.
Yes, I will. I haven't done that yet. Do we know when it's coming out or any info on that next? Or
What I know about that is that February, which is the time of recording this, is when they're due to send over the final chapter of the game. So I think they're
oh,
probably going to be
okay.
moving into like the very final phases of, you know,
Yep.
buttoning it all up. And I'm hoping. I mean, I'm hoping with Evolutus I'll know more than I know for other games because I'm more closely involved. But I'm hoping we get like a release date or an announcement about it soon. Yeah.
How did you find directing actors? Was that the first time you'd done that?
I've been directing actors since like high school. We did this thing called it was a freshman sophomore play where the juniors and the seniors directed the freshmen and the sophomores, and we put on a play that we would
Ah,
go to elementary schools and we'd perform. We did like an edited down version of The Princess Bride, for an audience of like 6 year olds or whatever it was,
did it go down
Um,
well?
it was, yeah, dude, that was the best work. And then the rest, it's been just crashing ever since I peaked in junior year of high school. Yeah, no, I love actors. I think that working with actors and like working on a group project is something that is really awesome that you get to have in video games, especially in the development side. But like being a
Yeah.
theater kid and everybody puts together, hey, you bring the props and you bring this thing for the set, and somebody else will do the music. And I just love that kind of collaboration. Yeah.
How do you feel now with Detroit? I mean, 15 million sold last I checked. I think was that late last year. How's your relationship with that game changed now, man? Because it's been what, 7, 8 years. It
It's
changed your life, would you say?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said it on stream over and over again. I mean, we wouldn't be I wouldn't be sitting here smiling, man, so much if it wasn't for Detroit Become Human. I do think I've been smiling a lot more in the last 7 years than, or if that game had come out and people were just like, nah, I don't want to play it. then it could just be on to the next one. Like as an actor, you're always hoping that the thing you work on like gets to sail out and respond, have a resonance with people.
Mm,
And I would say that one of the coolest things about like with streaming was that I was able to watch people's playthroughs of Detroit and get that experience that they would otherwise be just having like alone at their house. And for an actor, if you're on stage and something's moving or something is funny, you can sense it in the audience right there. And so streaming kind of creates a little bit of a version of that dynamic for an actor who works in a video game because you get to see how it goes over, like what
yeah.
parts do people like? What parts do people feel moved by? And yeah, it's in 7 years the game has changed so much, right? When it first came out, everyone was like, not everyone, but the kind of easy the path of least resistance was like, yeah, come on, let's take care of these androids. Like they're just so sweet, these little robots. Why would you be protesting against AI? And then here we are,
Yeah.
not even a decade later, and the whole conversation is completely different. I mean, my whole social media feed is, this is AI slop, and this is going to take my job, and all this, and so playing through it now is it's definitely got a lot more like tension
Mm.
between like what would you assume or what is the kind of prevailing wind, I guess, about the conversations in the game.
For me, it's a story of empathy. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We debated that on set. Even there was a line Clancy has as Hank where he says, empathy is a human emotion, Connor. And we were discussing like, is it emotion or is empathy like the understanding of all emotions? But yeah, Hank just comes out and says it, and he's like, Connor, you're showing empathy, and that's not what you were designed to do, And I do think that empathy is, as a human, the path of least resistance. I do think people are by default empathetic. I think that when we're born into this world, we have like compassion for other living things, and I think that that can be beat out of you. I think it can you can be exhausted out of it, or you can be afraid or so
Mm.
impatient that you start to lose that. But I do think that yeah, that's like a root thing we all have in common. I think empathy is what connects gamers when they play a story game.
Who did you call first when you landed that gig?
Who did I call first? Oh man. You know what? I actually went on a date with I went with Amelia and my mother to the Magic Castle in LA when I auditioned for Detroit like a year or something before. I had a call back. I thought, oh, that went so great, and then I heard nothing. And then like a year passed and I was just gardening and I was literally thinking to myself, like, you know what? If I'm just a gardener, like this could be satisfying to me. Like I like landscaping. Like maybe this is what I should be focusing my attention on. And while I was in the garden putzing around, I got a phone call that was like, "Hey, would you be available to go to Paris in March?" And I was like, I'm available to go to Paris anytime. Like I'm so available. And they said, "Great, come back and audition again. They want to read you again for this part of Connor." And so I went and auditioned a couple more times, and I went out to dinner at the Magic Castle in LA with my mom and Amelia. And I told my mom when Amelia was away from the table for a second, I said, I'm going to book this job. I'm going to go to Paris and do my first, performance capture job. And then I'm going to ask Amelia to marry me. And so I got to
Wow.
kind of, and then, a couple of days later, I got the call that said, you booked the job, you're going to Paris. And, Amelia didn't know, but I was about to propose too. So yeah,
Man.
I think so. I'm assuming Amelia and my mom probably called back home, and well, I don't know, but yeah, it was major. It was. I got to do the first scene on the what do you call it? Rooftop. The hostage negotiation scene is my birthday. Like March 17th is the day we filmed it, so it was like the best birthday ever.
Dude, that's now one of the most iconic scenes for me in gaming history. It's so replayable too. I think is it it can go bad, can't it? I mean, it can go
Yeah,
really
you can
bad.
lose the little girl. You can
Yeah,
lose
yeah, I think
Connor,
that's
or you
what
can
happened to
lose
me, man. Oh,
Daniel,
goodness
the
me.
the android.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Amelia, she's taking up cello lessons, I heard. What's your new hobby?
Ha! What is my new hobby? Am I allowed to just say video games?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, my old hobbies are still kind of my new hobbies. I would like to pick up photography again. You asked about the camera before we started the interview, but photography and portrait photography was a big part of my life. And then streaming kind of, took a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
that technical aspect and switched over. But I do think it would be a lot of fun in the same pursuit of getting actors known for their roles, more recognition, and so on. I do have an idea about doing a series of photo shoots with like my buddy Nick Apostolidis is playing Leon Kennedy in
Legend.
Resident Evil, or has been, in 2 and 4 remake, and then now into Requiem. But I have some ideas for photo shoots with actors that I am very close with and would like to like champion them in that way. Oh, I did a really cool photo shoot called the Pixel Pack that was with Entertainment
With
Weekly.
Neil,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, it was a whole group of actors across the board, and on set for that photo shoot, I was like, "There's a lot here. Like all these people want to stay in the same room, Like nobody. After they were like, "Okay, we're done. You can go," we were all like, "No."
No, we're gonna hang
Are you
out.
kidding me? I'm in a room right now with all these people. I'm gonna absolutely hang out for a little bit. So I'd like to recreate that. But
Well,
but
how often would all
gardening,
those actors be in a room? Not often, man.
no, and really a lot of times you don't get to even know your scene partner. If
Mm,
you're just in the vocal booth, you might be doing your whole performance with playback on the headphones. So yeah, the
yeah.
green rooms at a convention or like backstage at an award show, it's like a very different dynamic. You have a little bit of time, but you're always in the middle of doing something else. I like to get my colleagues together and let them just, hang.
I I remember the Game Awards 2018. You were up for best performance, and you picked a tough year. It was like
Yeah,
Chris Judge and it was Roger Clark. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, man,
It was,
it was
and
a
I think
stacked
Yuri
year, man.
Lowenthal for Spider-Man,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And who else was there? It was
I
Assassin's
think it
Creed.
was.
Yeah, yeah. Assassin's
Oh,
Creed
that's right.
Odyssey. Yeah.
Right.
Any other year you would have won, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It was fun. It was cool to go. It's actually where I met Roger Clark, waiting on cue for the after party after the Game Awards or something, and he was like, um, he's like, "Well, we gotta wait online." He's like, "I just won this award," and I was like, "Yeah, man." I thought like a nomination would get me like at least into the bar early or something, but no, we're just hanging out on the queue, and then we met. No, he came on stream and we did a playthrough of
Yeah.
some Red Dead Redemption. I play an NPC in Red Dead 2, and he just like absolutely just murdered this poor dude. this random NPC around, and I was like, I thought he was gonna be, have some fun with it. He just pummeled that guy into the ground, stomped him out.
Have you seen switching gears? Have you seen the movie Equilibrium? I watched it the
No,
other day,
yeah,
man. It's so potent now. I'd never seen it before. Christian Bale.
yeah.
I highly recommend everyone watch it. It's just yeah, it's an interesting watch these days with ChatGPT. I don't know if you've
For
seen it
sure.
recently.
I feel like
Yeah.
Equilibrium is actually very influential on Connor. I mean, there's a handful of movies
Mm.
that they gave me this, impression, especially with Machine Connor. Like if you play through the non-empathetic route, um Equilibrium is a huge one. Neo in the Matrix is another one, right?
Yeah.
Where you have this kind of like you're either gonna do what you're programmed to do, or you're gonna, have this empathetic deviation, which the obvious influences are, at the most robotic, you got C3PO, and then and Data from Star
Blade
Trek.
Runner, I'm guessing.
Blade Runner, of
Yep.
course. I mean,
Yep.
Deckharts and Deckards, we all hang out. We have this every year. We get together, me and Harrison Ford.
Didn't you
That's never
audition
happened. I've
for
never.
to play Harrison in Solo?
Oh, did I audition for that? I did. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to say I did, but yeah,
Oh,
for
okay.
for that. I think now at this point it's very clear I'm not playing on solo. So,
So
you know.
did you put on an impression of him? I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, the sides they sent us were these like they were talking about like tickets to a basketball game or something. It was something very not Star Wars, but it was clear that you could you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
it's like how are you gonna get the Harrison Ford isms into that,
yeah.
but um yeah, no, I think there's so many different influences that go into like what characters you play. It's hard to like track them down, but um
When,
yeah, I think Equilibrium is the fact that you brought that up. Equilibrium is an awesome movie and
dude,
very yeah, very applicable to this.
I watched it and I thought, oh, that was a great. I'll probably give it a seven. I got a letterbox where I review movies. I'll give it a seven.
Oh, nice.
The next day I go, no, I'm going to give that an eight. That was really good. A week
Right.
later, fuck it, a nine. And it just keeps going up. Every week it just keeps going up. I keep thinking about this bloody film. It really
Yeah.
stuck with me, man. I got to tell you, man, I got to flex for you for a minute here. Detroit Become Human. So, trophies, achievements, that kind of thing for
Yeah, yeah.
games. I was the first in the world to platinum Detroit.
Were
Thank you
you
very much.
really?
Yes, first in
Mission
the world.
successful, dude.
Mission.
Very
Yep.
cool.
And here we are now.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean,
To be
and that's no
fair,
small task.
to be fair, I did get it early, but
Right.
still,
Right, right,
still,
right. Yeah, but you
still, I'm
you
taking
stuck to
it.
the mission, man. You
Yeah.
got it done. That's huge. I mean,
Thank you.
it was really hard for me doing the I'll be back trophy in Detroit because I have to, you get Connor, you got to lose Connor every possible way. So that was like the last playthrough that we did. That was the last little piece
So
before we
you
got
did get the
platinum.
player.
We did, we did. I
Oh,
I,
good.
I have we did all the not 100% though. We've got 100%
Oh,
on
okay.
about half of the scenes, but as soon as you get later in the game, I mean, by the time you're at a crossroads, you got to play it through so many times to see, we're chipping away at it. We've been streaming it every time its anniversary comes around, May 25th ish each year. We've played it. So
You're not
we'll
sick
get
of
there
playing it
eventually.
now at
By
this point?
2038, man, by the time Connor's bore activated in game, I'll finally have got 100% in Detroit Become Human. There's some endings that are just so there's some paths that just get so
Dude.
sad that it's really
Oh,
hard to be
man.
like going down that rabbit hole. But there's a lot of people that got 100% every flowchart. I mean, that's amazing.
Obviously, Hank with the gun is a very sad scene, but the one that gets me is Kara and the daughter stripped away in the
Yeah.
cage. Man, that is heartbreaking. David Cage, you bastard.
It's very tragic. It's very tragic. I
Oh,
remember signs around the studio and when they were developing Detroit and just kind of, you just see little things up on the wall or whatever. And there was one that said, we are making a tragedy. We are making a Greek tragedy, I think was what they put on was just like on the wall. And it is, it's totally a tragedy. And when I ask like my friend Benjamin Deibling, who's the shooting director on Detroit Become Human, he had worked on Beyond Two Souls in previous games too, but I met him on Detroit, and I asked him like, "What do you think is the best ending?" Like as someone who's so close to it, and like all of the things he listed were like the most depressing, tragic, sad, like otherwise overwhelming things. And he's like, "This is the true ending." And I was like, "Benjamin, that is so French of you." It's just like, unless all the characters are suffering simultaneously.
Did you did you did you feel a little French by the end of the shoot?
I felt very American that whole time, man. Everybody spoke such beautiful French, and I'm just like picking up little bits and pieces of it. And they come back from lunch, and everyone had a glass of wine, and so the mood was very different after lunch and very laissez-faire. And I was feeling very like an android. I wanted to get back to work. I wanted to like get all this stuff done. Like I took it all very
Were
seriously.
you
Connor's
were
very
you under
serious.
pressure? Were you under pressure during that shoot, or you felt
Under
free? How
pressure,
did you feel?
I would say self-imposed pressure. I was
Mm,
really I was so excited by the time I got there because we would get the scripts in little packets like, a month or two in advance, but I didn't know what was going to happen beyond what they had sent me in a script. So, I would get like, here's all of your scenes with Hank. And so luckily all the stuff with Clancy Brown was in the same like 2 week shooting period. And so I would just be like super off book and very, because all these different branching dialogue choices require, Hank has one line and then I have four lines. We would shoot them in phrases. Like the longest take was like 2 or 3 minutes at a time, usually.
mm,
The more people they had on set, the shorter that window went. But yeah, we would do, the script, the scenes would be broken into like micro scenes so that we could
yeah.
handle them from, this through this many variations or whatever. But it required an incredible amount of, um, focus and attention to all the different variations to make them all different from each other, which meant that on set, I was pretty much like in my own little world because if I broke out of it too much, I was going to get confused. So I was really kind of isolating myself in this uh Android brain for a lot of it.
So Did you actually you played him in your mind as an android or played him as a human? I know that's a silly question.
No, no, I made I have a really complicated breakdown that I did in a journal. The best way I would put it, maybe if there's an actor who's watching this going to work on a branching narrative game, I had to kind of develop a script analysis technique because there's usually when you take a script, it has a beginning, middle, and end, and you can take apart, you find what's called the spine of the story. So from that, there's, the key elements, the things that must happen to make the
Yeah.
story, have a satisfying arc. And there's a lot of conventions and tropes and things that help us to understand what a spine of a script is. But in a branching narrative game, the player determines what elements are the spine of the story. And so that core of this script changes very much. And it was confusing to me on how to break this down because you have to let the player take over. You basically are putting all the toys in the toy box, passing it to the player and saying, here, you tell me what the story is with all these pieces that we've made for you. And they are all, they like Connects or Legos, certain pieces fit into certain other pieces. But the way it all makes sense is very much inside the player's head. And this is a little bit of a long-winded answer, so feel free to edit it down. But I was watching a
No, man, I'm not
documentary
editing you
on,
down.
okay, I was thinking about in the beginning all physicality. Everything was
Yeah.
coming from a physical place. So in the I knew that I needed to start somewhere most robotic to give the character, to become human. I knew that you had to start off very C3PO in order to lose that kind of, super mechanical, super direct,
Right.
robotic motion. So
Mm.
that by the end, he's more organic. He moves indirectly. He's not as efficient or optimized. Humans are kind of wasteful in the way we move. And so
So you were
physicality
slowly
was a
morphing him with your actions as well, like with your
Exactly. And so,
movement.
yeah, you
Wow.
can see like there's certain beats that I highlighted in the script that I thought would be deviant actions, right? So I would highlight them in yellow in my script and make a point of them, thinking, okay, if a player did a playthrough where and this is just my own script analysis before the game came out, so I don't know really how much of this actually is true still in the final game, but my idea was that, a player who made every single deviant choice. Every time that Connor could do something empathetic or more human, he did do it. That would get me to a most deviant Connor, a most human Connor. And then a player who maybe only made one or two of those choices would have a mostly machine Connor. And so I broke those down by color in the script. Connor's color is blue. I see actually your color seems to be blue as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it
and
that
so,
obvious?
yeah, I love blue. I mean, look at us.
Yeah. It's
So
the best color.
Connor is blue, and then each of these highlighted moments of yellow would make the path more and more green, right? And if you
Hmm.
did not do any of the yellow deviant choices, the path was becoming more and more red. So the way I broke the script down, I had blue Connor, which is like off the assembly line. Nobody's really moved him this way or that way. He becomes more and
Yeah.
more green based off the more and more yellow deviant activities that you opt in to do or don't do, right? The Kamsky test being a big one, your choice with
Yes.
Hank being a big one, they all add up. And then if you don't, then Cyberlife is taking over and he's really becoming more and more of a machine and following that directive. And I had Red Connor. And then Connor 60, who shows up in some playthroughs where you have this replacement Connor who's there in the Cyberlife tower, holding a gun to Hank's head. And there's this whole
Oh,
standoff between all of
yeah.
them. He's my purple Connor. He is like, so he comes off the assembly line,
So
machine
do,
Connor revamped or whatever.
do you
So I use
color code
colors a
these
lot.
in the script or is this in your mind? Your
This is
color
just all in
coding.
my mind, but this is how to
Man.
determine on the day because we would film all these different things, so I could break down the script ahead of time and be like, these beats are green most deviant Connor. Although in the beginning of the script he might be just a little deviant, but by the end of the script he's wearing his beanie and he's like statistic, he's like, don't tell me what I can't
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
How do you avoid confusion though, man?
Well, a lot of it is so I guess back to to the documentary, and the confusion part is that I had to let go of the control and give that over to the player, right? Because when I was thinking about physicality and I was thinking about, I didn't know how much of the stunts they were going to have me do or let me do, and how much
Uh,
of those choices were going to be made. But one of the deviant choices that I was script analysis breaking down as a very yellow moment was a chance where Connor can dive to take a bullet for Hank. Okay, so I thought,
yeah.
how does a machine, or how does an android, a very robotic system, how would I go to defend against a bullet over Hank? And I thought about, okay, if I'm jumping like this, or how am I going to jump like a robot and not just look awkward? And I thought, well, an android or a robot would go for maximum surface area, right? Because I want to have the
True.
greatest likelihood of covering the thing,
Yeah.
and I would be jumping, like as directly between the bullet and the person I'm trying to rescue. And I thought, oh, this is like the Da Vinci's Vitruvius Man, right? You've seen this diagram before. It's in the opening of Westworld. Like it's a
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
common image. So
Yeah.
I was watching this documentary on Da Vinci, and then we get into the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa is painted in so many different layers, right?
Mm.
And the beautiful impression of like lifelike skin with a glow beneath is that the one essence of the character is painted, and then over the Mona Lisa another Mona Lisa is painted, and over the Mona Lisa another Mona Lisa is painted, and you can see
Interesting.
all of these,
Mm.
all the light moves through the layers of paint, and it gives it this incredibly lifelike quality, breaking the uncanny valley in painting, right? And so that's why we're like so amazed by it. How could it be so lifelike? And with that, I was thinking about, and maybe you remember this back in the day, overhead projectors. Do you remember old school with the
Yeah, yeah.
transparency?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or in contemporary terms, layers in Photoshop, if people want to. But you can have, we used to have back in our day, an overhead projector that had like one piece of paper and everything was transparent except for the text, and then that would be shown up onto the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
And then you could put another one and another one and another one, just like the layers of paint in the Mona Lisa, and you would be able to add to to the projection. And so ultimately, the way I solved for all of these different colors and all of these different players' choices was imagining them like individual slides or slices of the game in different colors. And if one player played the game and they put a blue slice, a blue slice, a blue slice, a deviant yellow slice, a blue slice, by the end, their impression of the whole thing would be this kind of
Yes.
green deviant Connor. Or
Yes.
if they made this red choice, red choice, red choice, then you'd end up with this Connor. So it was really more about isolating those little beats so that they would be truly purely that color, or to degrees that color, and then the overall impression of how all that stuff adds up is really a trick of your mind. It's like you looking at the Mona Lisa and being like, oh, it's so lifelike, but really each of those layers was its own painting.
Brilliantly put, man. What was the best? What, I couldn't have said it
I
better
hope I
myself.
hope
I
that made
really
sense.
couldn't.
I don't know.
No, it did. It did. The what was the best piece of advice or criticism or direction you got from David Cage?
Oh man. I think that there was a really interesting dynamic with uh well, I'm grateful that the production was broken into pieces the way it was. That being said, I had a lot of experience on set where when I was brand new to the character and brand new to performance capture and stuff, I really was a little like shell shocked and awkward and like
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for the exact direction. Stand here, do this thing, do that thing. And so in that way, the order of the whole shoot being put together, I was kind of warming up to the character as Connor is warming up to the other humans in the story and so on. So I do think that that was kind of in an overview macro way, very successful. We also did all this stuff with Clancy and I, Hank and Connor together in its own little window. And they unusually we filmed all of that stuff in chronological order. So the
Oh,
first
that's
scene where
good.
I met Hank was in the bar, which felt very C3PO, very robotic. And then I could feel like as actors, like the kite string was being let out a little bit more and a little bit more so
Mm.
that we could uh color outside the lines or play with it a bit. And then by the end of the time with Clancy, I really felt like we were messing with each other. We were trying to add things in and deviating a little bit from what the other one was expecting physically or otherwise, so that it felt a little bit like we were breaking the rules, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that Connor kind of like looks up to Hank as a bad influence in a way, like Hank is a deviant to begin with. And so I feel
Yeah.
like uh the kind of evolution of that relationship was definitely like intertwined with how we recorded it on set. But yeah, I think that I was really grateful. David has said this, and other directors will say this too. But like, casting is a big part of directing. If you get the right person for the job, and then really you just kind of want to stay out of their way.
Yeah.
And I do think that they also did a good job directing in this kind of presence of Cyberlife, like the Cyberlife Tower, or like
Mm.
what Amanda and Cyberlife wanted for us. And I did feel like during those scenes, especially towards the end game stuff, which I won't mention in particular, but like there's some kind of like reversals or control or elements of
Mm.
of you know how much free will do we really have as characters and stuff. So I think there's a really active tension there, which was also created on set, which I think really served the story. Just as far as like, Connor, I don't know I don't know if it was a deliberate choice or not to kind of keep me in the dark of what's coming next. But in life we don't know what's coming next, really, right? I mean, you don't know what your afternoon's going to be after this Zoom meeting. So
Yeah.
um I think if you had asked me at the start of the project, I would have been like, I wish they gave me all the information right there so that then I could just do all my work and come up with a bunch of big ideas. But I do think that something that succeeded ultimately is that like Connor is on a mission. He's trying to figure out the answer. And like Brian, was also looking through the script for clues and trying to figure out how it was all connected. I mean, I saw Connor as way more of like a supporting character in this full story than the way it's been received. I really saw
Yeah.
him more as like, not to make everything about Han Solo, but like a Han Solo to Marcus's Luke and Kara as Leia. I
Uh,
saw their,
we're really
like part
coming
of
full
a
circle here.
trio, but not like the main dude. You know,
Who would have thought the underlying themes of this interview are AI and Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford. I mean, because we're on the subject, I will say
No,
that
no,
like
no. Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
this there's a beat where Connor can take the dirty bomb and they're like, Connor, don't, you're gonna, and he says something like, statistically speaking, there's always a chance for unlikely events to take place. And I kept doing it with this kind of like swagger and like turn to leave, and it was like my most like deviant, more human Connor. And I remember on set, I think it was Adam, who was the writer, was like,
Yeah.
why are you giving him such attitude all of a sudden? I was like, look, dude, this is for me, but it's very Han Solo in my mind. It's very like, hey, it's me,
Yeah.
whatever.
I saw you tweeted out for the state of play, right? And just some eyeballs. And I think the thing got like a million hits. And I'm looking at the comments, they're all like PS5 upgrade, PS5 upgrade, Detroit 2. I'm sure you get that comment a lot. Are you sick of it at this point? Is it just a testament to how good the game was that people keep mentioning a PS5 upgrade or a
Oh, I
sequel?
see.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm very grateful that people are as excited about Connor and Detroit as they are. I think one of the things that has made it all stand out with people over time is that it really is an experience of like making your own story. And
Mm.
so Connor has a line to Hank where he says, I'm whatever you want me to be, Lieutenant. It's I'm a blank canvas basically, and whatever you project onto me is your thing. And that's been a lesson for me as an actor, not just in the mode of production with this idea of like how the player puts all their choices together to construct their own playthrough and their own vision of Connor. But, I had some really, even if I had clear ideas of this is Deviant Connor and this is Machine Connor or whatever, I was amazed by kind of all the minutia and grayscale in between there, like the full spectrum of what things about the characters really resonated with people. I noticed that changed a lot based off what country we'd go to visit at a convention or
Really?
something. People would come
Mm.
up to us and what they really wanted to share changed a lot. And so what I realized is that like this story and Connor is a million different people. A million different people, I guess, is the what is that song? Is that Eagle Eye Cherry or something? A million different people from one day to the next, you know?
Yeah.
But that's like as an actor, I think it's really important that you let the player or let the viewer have their experience with it.
Yeah.
And I've seen internet discourse about like, oh, if you did another game, it couldn't be because how could you take a branching narrative thing and go to the next piece? Or like, one person's end game negates the idea of another person's end game. And something that I think is really beautiful and maybe why the game is maintained an audience for so long and people, in the community around the game are really have a lot of strong opinions about it is because it allows that room for your headcanon. You can just decide my relationship with Connor is all about this, or the reason why I
Mm.
think Marcus is important is because of this. And like the story allows for that. So I love hearing people's like interpretations of how it would go and what else is, reading between the lines, that kind of stuff.
You have to agree, man. The story is there for an incredible sequel from an art perspective, but also a business side. The game sold 15 million, and like the appetite is there. Still,
Yeah.
8 years
Yeah.
later, you know you're onto something. Then there's also a part of me like not everything needs a sequel. You know what I mean? So I'm
Right.
kind of in this limbo, but I always end up wanting more in the end.
I think I
Consume,
mean for
consume.
for for me personally, like
Oh,
not about Detroit, but about other games in total. Like when
yeah,
when Disney bought Star Wars, right? I had a bunch of
yeah.
my old Star Wars buddies that were like, they're like, oh no, this is the end. It's all over now. Disney's gonna ruin it. Da 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 da. Da." And I was like, if they make more Star Wars, there's a chance to be in more Star Wars. Like if they just were like, no, that's it, it's done, freeze it, and just like continue doing special editions of the same three movies or the same six movies or the same, you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
like, if you don't like it, let it float away. Like there's not everything in the Star Wars universe that I'm like a super fan of, but it's a giant universe. So I don't know. I think internet discourse and fan discourse around what should and shouldn't happen gets like really muddy because there's not really a right answer, I don't think.
So where do you lie on it? Would you do a sequel or not?
Oh
Selfishly.
man, call me up. I don't. I mean, when it comes to the
Uh,
future of Detroit
uh,
Become Human in particular, that is Quantic's
I
in
know, I
Quantic's
know,
court.
I know.
But I'll tell you what, man, it was a lot of fun, and I have really enjoyed my time as Connor in any capacity. So you can find him at Astrobot in the meantime.
Oh yeah, that was
You can
cool.
find, or he's also a
Yeah,
skin and Sackboy. There's some Connors around
dude.
there.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I wish I had more of an answer for you on that. But
no.
I
Also, man, shout out to you in Cyberpunk. You were brilliant as that vending machine man. That is one of
oh,
my
thank you.
favorite side quests. That was fantastic. And your wife obviously is the character. I knew straight away it was you two. I don't
Oh,
know
did
why.
you?
I just knew, and it was just brilliant. I loved it. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, we were really grateful to work on that together. And now with Sons of Sparta, this will be the third game that we are in the cast together, which is really cool. We met on set. We played boyfriend girlfriend in a little indie film. That's how we met. So we've
Ah,
got to
yeah.
we've got to
Wow.
be in. Yeah, I'll just keep doing that for the rest of my life. Working with
Anything you
Amelia.
want to promote or plug, man? I know you're streaming Hollow Knight at the moment. How are you finding that from the Aussie devs down here?
Oh
You
man, I'm
kicking
really
your ass?
enjoying it. My mod team warned me, they're like, it's difficult, Bry. You might have a hard time with it, and I do occasionally. The going. I get real worried about losing my soul and all my little geo that I was
Yeah.
collecting. I got to get that little guy back. But I'm really enjoying it. I played through Ori and Will of the Wisps, and
Oh,
so then
beautiful
Hollow
game.
Knight
Yeah.
came along, and I was like, I got to get my Metroidvania skills up for no reason in particular. And then they shadow dropped God of War: Sons of Sparta, and
Ah,
I was
yes.
like, all right, so we're gonna be playing
Yes.
that. We're streaming that. We're playing through God of War: Sons of Sparta going on, and then people can keep an eye out for Evolutis Duality, which is a cyberpunk fighting game with a branching narrative that Amelia and I cast and vocal directed, and Amelia is the lead of, and has an absolutely amazing cast. So I have to shout out to the fact that we've got some of the most legendary colleagues in this industry of working in video games on board. So I'm positive people are going to be very excited about the characters and the story when that game
It's
comes out.
also a testament to you, man, that you're able to wrangle in those people because they trust you as well, I feel, and your
Mm.
presence. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, we've had most of them were guests on our Twitch stream, and joined us on Dechart Games when we were doing like a
Ah,
playthrough of
yeah.
Firewatch is how, or Walking Dead is how we met Sissy Jones and Dave
Yeah.
Fenoy and
I love how you
Daisuke
do that,
Tsuji.
man.
Yeah, when we did
I
Ghost.
stole that idea and did it with Rob Weedoff with Red Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
very cool.
yeah, you got to keep doing that, man. Maybe you can get Nick for RE9.
Oh, absolutely. We've already talked about it. He's got a lot of events to go to, but
I'm sure
I'm
he's
actually
busy,
kind of
yeah.
delaying. I'm kind of delaying my start so that people can get a chance to play ahead of me a little bit. We usually play games like a week or two at least after they come out.
Is that
Just
so
because
no
people,
spoilers and stuff? Kind of like let
yeah,
it simmer?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's smart. Yeah.
But yeah, having Nick join us for Resident Evil would be awesome. We've had him come on stream before. We played some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cowabunga,
That's right. Yeah.
Turtles in Time. Yeah.
Man, thanks for your time, man. I really enjoyed this. I could probably sit here with you all day. So promise me you'll come back on at some point.
Sounds good, Dan. And feel free to reach out anytime, man. I'm really grateful to have your interview with you, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, man. Before I let you go, can Connor say something to Dan? Is that possible?
Sure. What does Connor say to Dan?
I don't know. Well, anything, man. Whatever comes to your mind.
Hello, Dan. My name is Connor. I'm the android sent by CyberLife, and by Dan from the past to tell you that you're doing a great job, Dan. You look smashing in your black t-shirt. We both do, and I really like that you've painted your walls blue. XOXO, Connor.
Man, you really get into character that quick.
Oh, that's just
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Follow this man on Twitch and everything he does. Thank you, brother.